Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from, and welcome back to yet another episode of Unprepared to Entrepreneur, the channel that brings you real, raw, and often untold stories of entrepreneurship. I'll be your host, Anne Moher, and today I'm very excited. First of all, Happy New Year. We're happy to be back. We took a small break to sort of re-strategize, reorganize ourselves, and we're excited to be back. I'm even more excited for the guest that we are about to have on this show. Sam, welcome to Unprepared to Entrepreneur. We are really happy to have you. Sam, it was my first guest that I ever invited for this channel, and I'm excited, I'm happy that we are having this conversation. He's a friend, a fellow entrepreneur, someone that I really look up to. And so I am sure as you're learning, I will also be learning. So karibu sana, Sam.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are very happy to have you. Please introduce yourself to my audience before we start.
Thank you, Anne. So my name is Sam Wanyoike. I'm a father of two. I'm an entrepreneur. And more recently, over the last 2 years, I'm also a business coach, but specifically within the laundry business space. So for the last 21 years, that's been my craft. Just trying to unpack the whole dry cleaning and laundry space.
21 years?
21 years, yeah. 21 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
If we start from the beginning, it might take us.
I'm not sure we'd cover it in.
It might take us a while.
That might take a while.
But I think the conversation we want to have today is sort of based on what is stopping you as an entrepreneur, as a career person, from going after your goals or your dreams. What exactly is it stopping you? What exactly is stopping you? So is it fear? Is it yourself? Is it doubt? Is it money? Is it knowledge? What exactly is stopping you? And I want us to unpack this story from like our own experiences, your own experiences especially. And maybe we can start from the very beginning. Were you always an entrepreneur?
No, I was not always an entrepreneur, although there are friends who challenge me and tell me entrepreneurship is a mindset. So sometimes you pick it up from very early in life, right? And you can find an entrepreneur literally anywhere, even within a formal working environment. So to your question, no, I was not always mainstream entrepreneurship, but I did pick it up at some point. So initially I was formally employed. I'm an accountant by training.
Oh.
So went through uni, studied economics, did CPAs on the side. Got employed. Same old script. Go to school, get a job, and live your life out.
Get married.
And all that good stuff.
And retire.
Exactly. But I guess entrepreneurs are the same old bunch. The restlessness just keeps tugging at you. And before long, I realized I wanted to try something. I wanted to do something. But we didn't know exactly what it is that we wanted to do. So in the course of formal employment, we started asking what can we set up. And it was those days, like I've told you, it's 21 years ago. It was those days when you'd have things like cyber cafes. It was also
21 years ago, that's 2000
We're talking 2003, 2004, thereabout.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So those are the days you'd have like people setting up small pubs. That was a thing. Cyber cafes. There are people who might not even know what a cyber cafe is, given how tech has really evolved. But fortunately, where I was working, I had a colleague who was very good with research. So when I played to her a few options, including laundry, she was like, you may want to think about this thing called laundry. And we had very limited resources in terms of setting up. So we were asking, if it's laundry, how do you get around the question of equipment, location, logistics?
Yeah.
So she came back with her findings and she said, for laundry, the customer is very interested in affordability. They're also very interested in quality, but the one thing they really don't have is time. So whatever you do, just try and model your thing around convenience. And that's exactly what we did. So the little savings we had put together from a circle, small money. My co-founder and I, his name is Robert, we decided to invest in a small second-hand Suzuki Maruti delivery van. So
Okay.
yeah, and then we sort of like fitted it out with railings at the back, so it looked like a tiny little closet.
I
And
thought you
it
were going to say a location.
no,
What informed the decision to start with a Maruti?
the
A Maruti is like
the
a small,
convenience,
the convenience.
the convenience.
Oh, I see.
We needed to meet that client at exactly where they
Where
are.
they are.
Where they are. So it didn't matter whether it was the office, the home. We would come to exact. So if Anne called us from Dagoretti, Embakasi, Thika Road, we would hop on the Maruti and come over. And so yeah, so you can imagine how frustrating that could be, given my co-founder had already exited formal employment. I was still employed, and very quickly I saw something had to give. So I needed to come into this full time, right? But at the same time, my daughter had also just been born. It was lifestyle transitions and all that, and everything that comes with that. So yeah, very, very challenging early days, extremely challenging early days. But we got on it. You can imagine the frustration if you drive, like, for example, all the way to Embakasi,
Yes.
and then somebody gives you 2 jackets, or even one. That does not
Yes.
even cover your fuel one way.
It doesn't.
Forget about the return trip to deliver that item. But here's the thing, Anne. During that time also, you get a chance to pick up a lot of data in terms of what the customer is interested in. So I've heard you speak about what stands in your way, and yeah, there are all those things. You're thinking capital, you're thinking equipment, and those early days. I think that's pretty much how my transition from formal employment went, and slowly through a referral kind of growth.
I see.
It started slowly but organically making sense.
Was there like a resistance within yourself? Because, I mean, you're used to, let's say, a corporate setup. It's a fine lifestyle, you know? And now you're driving a Maruti to Embakasi to pick 2 jackets, launder them, and then take them back. Like how, because sometimes I feel like the thing that is stopping us is us taking that leap of faith and moving from your comfortable lifestyle towards, you know, your dreams. But you know, the reality of your dreams are like you still have to go through that learning curve.
Absolutely.
You're saying your partner had exited, so obviously you're seeing how things are rough. Was there like resistance, and how did you sort of like overcome that?
That's a great question. I think, yes, there's a lot of resistance within. You agonize. I also think, in line with the question you've asked, a huge thing that stands in the way of entrepreneurs is your fallback plan. Please note, you're coming from corporate, you have your degree, you have your CPA, you have your qualifications. Like,
Yes.
there's a plan B.
Yeah. If this goes belly
Yes,
up.
so if this goes belly up, or you're struggling with what you've said, perception, what do people think about, because there was a lot of that. Like, people will talk to you like, are you sure? Including family. Like, are you
Yeah,
sure?
yeah.
Like, from a finance job, now unaosha manguo.
Your statement even hit.
There's
Your statement even hit.
there's like
Were you like a managerial position in
Oh
finance?
yeah, absolutely.
So from a finance
Right there with the
manager,
director.
sahi unaosha nguo, eh?
Right up there with the director.
How
Like, you're
would that
sitting
make
in
you feel?
interviews, interviewing senior staff.
Yes.
Yes.
How would that make you feel?
Then a few weeks down, you're crossing CBD, 10 hangers, 10 hangers. Yeah, making deliveries, completing pickups. So I also think it plays into who you are as a person. Is this something you're prepared to see through? How are you looking at it? Is it a 2-year story? Is it a 10-year story? What's your vision? So yeah, to your question, you do have those internal conversations. And sometimes they are amplified by the circle of people who you keep around you. Because there are places, when we started off, of course, you start with your friends and family. You tell them what it is that you're doing. And we would go for pickups and delivery somewhere. And someone says, oh, I know you're in this business, but I was not actually expecting you to be the one who will
The assumption is you have employees.
You have KYMs.
You know, people you can send out
Yes.
to collect the laundry.
Now you just show up.
But now Sam is done
Yes.
the hangers like this.
Everything. Yes, and when you deliver, you're also the guy who waits for the payment.
Yeah.
Yes, so those were interesting early days. But like I alluded, it's a very rich time in terms of gathering data. Customer insights, just to take in what does that mean when you map out Nairobi. Where are the orders coming from? What are the tastes and preferences that tend to push retention? Because laundry is a retention game. You and I know that.
Yes.
And I liked what I think it was one of your earlier shows where your guest spoke to the first sale is easy, but getting them to come back.
Yeah.
So a lot of insights those early days. And yes, the resistance is there, both internal and external. But you push on. You keep going. You keep going.
So tell me, I'm thinking at the beginning, obviously when you've just left employment, and I know this has happened to me, I think every month, every other week, I'm thinking I should really just go find a job. Things get so tough. And I was just like, wacha tu, hii maneno ni ngumu sana. Did you ever get to that point where you're like, I don't think this is it? And obviously there are these voices from the circles that you're keeping. It's unfortunate, but there aren't many entrepreneurs, by the way. Most people in Kenya are employed. So most of your friends or your family members will be employed, not like starting out a business.
Right.
So your circle in terms of people who can offer you, what's the word, wakupatia nguvu, is quite limited. So how did you navigate that? Have you ever even thought of that? Like, let me just go.
That was maybe day 2 or day 3. After you pick up the first few no's, after you pick up people who are telling you no, not interested. Yeah, you second guess yourself, and it's very human. I would imagine it's very, very human. You go back and you're like, this is month 1. You've not even made 10K that entire month. Where you were working, maybe you were being paid 20 times as much, and you're thinking, this is not gonna work. Yeah, this is a strategic mistake. So you find yourself sometimes refreshing your CV, your profile where you had left it. It's very, very normal. But now the question is, do you act on it? Do you actually decide, I'm going to act on going back to look for a job? Or am I going to keep chipping at this thing? And for us, we were very clear in terms of this is not something we are doing for the short term. And we are not also expecting something to give immediately. It's a relationship-oriented business. People take time to trust you. People buy people. I've heard you say that countless times on your show. And we got that. So we said, let's just keep at it. And if the figures justify month-on-month growth, then it's just a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of resilience.
Yes.
Let me circle back kidogo. You had the Maruti, which is more than most people have when they're starting out. So in say you didn't have money to get the Maruti, which essentially it became your like store in transit, right? It will pick, it will drop, it will offer convenience and all that good stuff for your customers. In the absence of that capital, what would you have done? And I'm saying this because we are talking about the things that stop us sometimes is resources.
Absolutely.
If you have somebody watching and looking to get into the laundry business and they don't have money, say, to either put up a store or let's say buy a vehicle that could offer them that as a resource, what would you have done knowing what you know now?
I think I should probably have offered the backstory to the Maruti, because we did not just show up at the dealer and cut them a check.
Yes, please do.
We went to the dealer. They said we are interested in a vehicle. They showed us the list price. I think it was like 600,000. We were like, there is no way we can't afford that. And I remember very well, it was CMC. That time they were the ones who had, I don't know if they still are, but they
Yeah.
were the Maruti dealership. And I remember going back to the office, crestfallen, like, now where are we going to get something that is as well as competitively priced as the Maruti? And the guy I had spoken to at CMC, I remember him very well. It was called Kyoko. So Kyoko calls me back, say, after 2 weeks. Then he says, when you came, I saw you are really interested in this vehicle, but pesa ilikuwa haitoshi. So there's a customer of theirs who had bought a Maruti a while back from Mombasa. Then upon starting their business, they realized the Maruti was too small. So they traded it back in for a bigger vehicle. So Kyoko calls and tells me, there's something that's been returned here. And of course, now after being returned, the value, the sale price comes, drops. So he offered me the Maruti at possibly maybe half the cost.
Price.
Yes. And even that we didn't have.
I can read it.
So now we got into conversations around installments. And Kyoko tells me long stories about, but we don't know you. You don't have a track record. We've never sold anything to you. And there's just something about persevering, all right? I also remember at the time, I was a member of Waumini Sacco from my former place of employment. And I had borrowed some money, which, when you start a business, money just disappears. It just disappears.
It's like a hole.
So by the time we engaged CMC, we really didn't have the resources. So my advice to perhaps your audience is, don't just go to the shop and say, this thing is too expensive.
And stop there.
Engage. And eventually we did get into an installment, a payment plan with CMC. And we defaulted multiple times. Multiple times. Like those ones back at they send auctioneers and things like this.
Yes.
But we kept at it.
Yeah.
And I like saying also the people you have around you really play into how you perceive debt. And you ask yourself, are these people who are cheerleaders? Do they cheer me on? Do they encourage me? Or do they paint the bleak side of anything that could and would go wrong? And there's even something they say in Spanish. They say, you don't just sit at home and expect that barrier will be overcome when you are in the house.
Yes.
You stick out your neck.
You stick out your neck,
You stick out your neck. You go out there, you knock on a few doors, you never know what will give. So that was the situation with the Maruti. Another question I get a lot is, okay, fine, you're picking laundry. How are you cleaning it?
I was going to get to that question.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But before I talk about how we were cleaning, you've asked me about, what about that other person who does not have the Maruti?
Yeah.
I've told you more recently, we've gotten into business coaching, where we coach people how to get into the industry. And I can't tell you, Anne, the number of mamafuas who are doing crazy things in the laundry space. For example, I had a lady who came on maybe 2 weeks ago. Started as a mamafua. She has a bunch of people around Karen Dagoretti, where who contract her.
Came in as a student.
She came in as a participant, as a student. Yes, on our platform. So she has this database of people who she has been cleaning for the last maybe 5 years. And at some point she realized, when I sit somewhere in Dagoretti in a central place, and I get a call from Karen, I get another call, say, from Ngong Road, another call from Langata, I'm unable to split my time. So she invested in a small washer, a small laundry machine. So instead of her going to the clients, she just places a call to this, or she chats the clients on WhatsApp, and she sends a rider who just goes around picking up all that laundry and brings the laundry to her, to her place where she is at.
Yeah.
Now she's grown it to a point where the kind of laundry that she's getting every weekend has outstripped the equipment's capacity. So she came on our platform trying to understand, how do I transition from my own domestic situation to a location, a proper commercial location, that is profitable, and where now I can not only clean for my database of clients, but I can even have the rest of the public coming and cleaning with me. Now, when you're thinking Mama Fua, what did that person start
Oh, wow. Nothing.
with? Beyond her 2 hands.
Beyond her 2 hands, nothing. Yeah, that's very true. First of all, kudos to her. There are so many lessons I could pick from there, because sometimes, most of the time, what is stopping you is a mindset. You're looking at the problems, you're not looking at the opportunities. You want to start today and take off tomorrow. You're not willing to put in the work that then propels you to that point. Because if let's say, for example, someone who is employed, for example, today, were to say, okay, I want to start a laundry business, and when they look at the resources they have to start where the Mama Fua started, for example, most will not be able to do it.
No.
Most will not be able to do it, because you want, I don't know if this has happened to you, but I'm also an accountant.
Yes.
And I left a managerial position to start entrepreneurship. And I thought entrepreneurship would offer me the same sort of comfort and lifestyle that I got from employment. And so when I started, obviously, it was a culture shock immediately, because I don't have my corner office, it's not carpeted, I don't have people to send for tea, or tea is already made, you just go pour yourself some tea, or send an email when you need marketing department to do something for you. So it's more of a culture shock. Now moving from there to now, I am starting from mimi ndio mwenye nafua. Not many people are willing to do that, and that's the price you pay. Absolutely. If you want to get into entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
For some, depending on how much resources you have, then you can get a Maruti, for example. But for her, I mean, I am so amazed.
And she's not alone in that. Within that spectrum of the Mama Fua space, you will find your person who dropped out of school in class 4. You'll also get university graduates who've decided, I'll start down there. And that's why I began by saying it also draws from who you are as a person. Are you willing to tap into that reset button? Like saying, I'll start from here, and it's okay, irrespective of perceptions. Because, and you and I know, laundry is not, like in the whole spectrum of business and professions, it's not the sexiest business. So people will look at it, people will frown upon it, people will I mean, it's right there in that bucket with garbage collection and all those things, like cleaning up society, all right? So it also takes a certain personality to embrace it. And there are people who will come on the platform and they speak very fluent, articulate English.
Yeah.
But the manner in which they have positioned their thought process, you find them doing way, way bigger things and within a shorter time than the typical person who has transitioned through corporate. And I agree with you. That corporate setting, it really, they're like blinders, like the blinders you put in a horse. They are like blinders. So you will hear, even on the coaching, there are people who will come and say, I'm an IT expert. I'm thinking about getting into the laundry business. But now they are thinking of themselves as the people who will come and transform it from an IT context. Because that's something they've done for the last 5-15 years, and they're really good at it.
They're really good at it.
Then they get in and they realize.
And you can't take that away, but the business does not need IT expertise as of right now. They are still a small baby. It needs to be breastfed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I really resonated with your guest. I think it was Rakeri. I have such admiration for people like Rakeri, because they roll up their sleeves, they bring their own personality. Like you could tell she's so comfortable in her skin.
Yeah.
And that's the uniqueness she brings to her business.
To her business,
yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's go back to the story. There are many, I feel like in business there are many fasts. They kind of feel like starts, like you keep starting over and over and over, because obviously you fall down, you pick yourself up, you fall down, you pick yourself up.
Yes.
So how do you transition from the Maruti to, I know today you have 15 branches, is that so?
We had 14 pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID 14.
Pre-COVID, we were at 14. COVID did its thing. We consolidated 4. So currently we are at 10.
You're at 10.
Then we are just shy of 40 members of staff.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
I see.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's fantastic.
Yes, yes.
So how do you transition from Maruti to making enough to sort of cater for the expenses at the Maruti level for you then to go to the first branch?
Okay.
How does that look like?
Okay. So we did the Maruti thing. We did the pick and drop. Those days we were your typical, just like our insurance brothers and sisters, on with third parties, like established cleaners. We had even engaged in things like mystery shopping, because these are the people you'll be entrusting your clients' valuables with. People today ask me, like, Sam, you actually did that brokerage stuff? Yeah. In fact, I wear that broker badge very proudly.
First, for the audience who don't know
Yes.
what mystery shopping is,
Yes.
what is that?
Mystery shopping is where Anne, for example, is interested in how a certain business works. It could be her own business, it could be somebody else's business. But for whatever reason, maybe she wants to get an objective assessment of what the service is like. She'll either use a third party, she might even contract somebody to get in there, go through the entire customer journey, maybe book an order, and so on and so forth, and be able to come back and report to you. This is actually what the end-to-end
was.
Yes. So we engaged in a bit of that, and what that allowed us to do was, you would now be able to tell, if I go to Anne's house and she gives me her 50 kilos of curtains, I will not take them to supplier A, I'll take them to supplier B.
Oh,
Based on their infrastructure, the kind of equipment they had, their turnaround, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I go to somebody else's place and they tell me it's a restaurant setting or it's an Airbnb setting, we knew. So we had about 3 service providers, and now the Maruti now will be just running around in the fulfillment of the pickup and the drop-offs. Yeah. So that's how it initially was set. Then I want to say we did that for 3, maybe 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah. Just telemarketing from the second floor of an office on Koinange Street. Just telemarketing.
I know our next episode is on sales and marketing, so I will pack this. We will unpack it in the next episode, because I'm really curious to learn like how you were able to grow the numbers.
Yes.
But how do you move now from the Maruti situation to your first branch? And would you advise somebody who is starting to start off with a branch? Or like if you were to start off today and you have, so we've moved from the person with no resources. Now we have someone who has a bit of resources. Would you advise them to start with a branch? What was that experience sort of like?
Okay. Remember, the goal is to overcome this hurdle called capital. We don't have capital for equipment. We don't have capital for a large fleet, for a lot of members of staff. You don't even have insights in terms of what the market wants. So when we did that running around for about 2-3 years, slowly it was building cash flow, because you're building a referral model.
Yeah.
And we transitioned from friends and family, and now you start seeing, if I have maybe 20 members within my family, there are these 3 members of my family who give me a lot of work. And their chances are, within their circle, they have friends and community that also cleans like them. So we grew, we were very intentional about targeted promotion to those people who appeared to be giving us a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah. So we pushed it like that. Then moving into year 3, we start saying we are thinking about location. Because we think location will now slowly start taking the pressure off from this one-on-one selling, and now introduce a selling point that is scalable. And we start asking around. And we're asking. I remember driving around Upper Hill Springs, for those who might be familiar with that area.
Yeah, up at the restaurant.
Yes, the restaurant. And we got into a conversation with the ownership. And we told them we're just interested in a collection shop. There's no cleaning that will be going on here. Because, and the thing is, with a lot of business owners or people who are looking to get into the business, when you tell them get into laundry business, the first thing that comes into mind is equipment. which is not cheap.
No.
But when you come in and your focus is how do I bring in the customer through the door, then the calculus just changes. It's a very different conversation.
I agree with you.
So we go in, we tell them we're interested in space. After some back and forth, that time you don't have the money, but you're in business. But all the money you're getting, either you're fueling the van. There was a lady we had retained for some telemarketing. You're paying her. You're not paying yourselves.
At this point, you are still the driver of the Maruti?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not just the driver, many things.
Wow. Okay, 3 years.
The driver is the better side of the JD. Yes, there are other things.
There are other things because you have to make sure the operations, making sure that the laundry is cleaned and delivered on time.
Absolutely.
Basically, you're doing everything.
You're doing everything. At that point, you're doing everything. You're marketing. In the evening, you're trying to look at the figures. What does this look like? And I know perhaps when we discuss the marketing bit, we'll get into exactly how that was structured. So yeah, you get to do different things in one person. So there's just myself and my co-founder. And now when we started talking location, again, we had to figure out from these customers that we had, actually remember very clearly, going into a customer's home, and by then you'd go to a customer's home, they give you laundry, then they tell you, since you're doing laundry, see, you guys also do carpets. See, you guys also do fumigation. See, you guys also do car detailing. And I don't remember saying no to any of those questions.
Why would you? You're yet to start earning a salary. Speaking of, how are you surviving this whole time? Are you surviving on the side jobs, the fumigation jobs, and the car wash jobs, or how are you meeting your bills? Because that's a real hindrance in terms of when we talk about what's stopping us. I wonder if I have a family, I have kids, I want to do this business. How will I afford my day-to-day expenses?
You have to also adjust as a person, serious life adjustment. So things you are used to, I mean, you said it, things you are used to in that Kakona office, an office that looks, you have to like intentionally decide this pause. For now, let's just pause this. And take life at the very bare basics. So you'll have even your own domestic rent falling due, or, getting threatened. Like auctioneers become people that you're like this. You're like this. So we navigated that section. But now the clients. Sorry, I was on that tangent when we are outsourcing. So we have all these carpet requests, we have fumigation requests, and it assumed the same outsourcing model. So if you called us and you said, I want you guys to come and do my upholstery or my carpets, we will come, but on our way, we already have an arrangement with someone like Parapet. So we'll swing by with our own dust coats, our own branded dust coats. We'll pick up 2 guys from there with their equipment, then we'll come to your place. We'll sort out your upholstery. We've agreed on the costings with the service provider. Then we'll just bill you with a markup. And that account is done. So to the customer, we are providing this bouquet of cleaning services, all right? And that's what allowed us to pay, I think it was like 15,000 deposit for that first location. It was actually a client who gave us a job. We went, we charged him, he wrote us a check, we took it to Upper Hill Springs, yes. And that time there's no shop. You've just been told you can set up. Then another client comes across like that, he pays us. I go to a place in Umoja. It was near where I was staying at the time. A place called Mtindwa.
I know Mtindwa.
You know Mtindwa? So they do a lot of welding and fabrication.
Yes.
So I did like a 5 foot by 5 foot kiosk. If you ever check out our Instagram, there's a structure. Let me call it a structure. There's a structure there that people look at it. They don't believe it's a shop.
You're going to have to send it so that we put it in. We want to see how your first branch looks like.
So yeah, and one of the owners at Upper Hill, one of the group of landlord members, so he told me, don't even say a lot of things. Just right there, drop your laundry here. Drop your laundry here. To this date, that remains our differentiating call to action.
Yes.
It doesn't matter which location you go to. And it's become so compelling over time. Now I'm getting into the marketing. Sorry, I default to marketing. But it's become so compelling over time that clients don't even need to see our brand name, allmylaundry.com or something like that.
Drop your laundry here.
Drop your laundry here. So, and that's what we set up. It was tiny, like a tiny shack. It could barely fit 15 suits, 20 suits. So if 2-3 clients dropped their orders, you'd have to figure out. It's full. It's full. You can't even see the attendant. You can't even see me because...
So I'm picking quite a bit of lessons from here, because there's this image, when you want to start a business, there's this image you have, like how you want that business to look like. And obviously, I feel like it's ego driven. It's not, the business really doesn't need all of that, especially when you're starting. You feel like, I am this person, and therefore the business that I'm building needs to reflect that from the beginning. And I'm looking at your 5x5 shack. I have seen the photo, and I'll insert it here because I've seen it. It's like a Coca-Cola kiosk is bigger.
Way bigger. Way bigger.
It's like half of a Coca-Cola kiosk, maybe even a third. And I can't believe that is what now is laundromat. So I guess the lesson I'm picking here in terms of what is stopping you is, again, mindset. Being humble enough to start from scratch, however that looks like. I feel like could be the reason some make it and some don't. Because I've seen many, in fact, just in this location, we've seen many businesses come and go, me and you, right?
Many.
So they open, they look nice, they have branding, they have everything thought out. You can see somebody spent, let's say, 4 million to set it up. But the one thing they did not think about is, once this is set up, how am I going to get your clients? To get my clients. And I think the thing I am getting from you is that figuring sales first before investing a large amount of capital is best, as opposed to investing first, then figuring out how to sell later. Because right now you have a 5x5. How often did you need to empty it? Like, in terms of, empty, I mean imager.
Like Monday it would fill up, because everybody has come from the weekend and they drop off their suits. Upper Hill is a business district.
Yes.
So they'll drop off their suits. So when the suits are processed, you're not going to fold them. They need them straight on a hanger.
Yes.
So it would quickly fill up. You have the Maruti parked there. Sometimes you offload some of them into the Maruti. At some point, the Maruti has to go for deliveries. So you have to figure out. And sometimes those constraints are good because they also push you now to get innovative and creative. And for us, now we started pushing the home delivery model. So if you brought your order to the branch, would really try to nudge you towards the home delivery once the order is ready.
Yes.
And the other thing that helped with is, when you drop off your order, since you'll not come back for it, it allowed us to make the case for you to pay in advance. And that really boosted the cash flow, right?
Oh, I see.
So you drop off your order, pay for it, mtakutana na hiyo.
That's smart.
Yes, mtakutana na hiyo.
So you have a storage problem, and the solution is offering convenience to the customer. I mean, it's better if I don't have to come and pick it up.
Yes.
If you drop it off at home, perfect.
Exactly.
So I'm happy to take.
Absolutely.
And it sorts out your storage.
Absolutely. And to your point around the 5x5 structure, and it was made of
Don't
steel.
call it a structure. That's your first
It would get super hot. It would get really hot. Like during now January, like this.
Because it has no AC.
Like now, what AC? What AC now? It would get super hot, and if you're not careful, you'll start dozing. I could tell you a story around somebody. I'll not say who it is, but somebody who fell asleep. And then there are those cows that come to Nairobi in January with the Maasais.
Yes.
It visited. One of those cows visited, and somebody had drifted on the...
Did they chew on one of your clients' suits? Is that what happened?
I digress. the structure as it was to the visitor, it's just a 5x5. But in terms of processing capacity, that structure could allow processing of laundry to the extent of the Norfolk Laundry. We had a relationship there. We had a relationship with White Rose. We had a relationship with 2 other cleaners in town. So whatever equipment they had in their facilities, including Akina Parapet and all these bigger players, because we had those arrangements with them, we could offer anything that they offer within that 5x5, if that makes sense.
That is
So to that person who is wondering, okay, fine, I can only afford a 10 kilogram washer. You do not need to be limited.
You don't need to.
Yes,
Yeah.
you don't need to be limited or confined by whatever you can afford.
The capacity
yes.
of your equipment.
So long as you can demonstrate to these third parties that I'm bringing you 50,000 shillings worth of work every month.
Yeah.
So you can't be like charging me the same thing with the regular individual who walks in.
Yeah.
Yes, those are the conversations.
Yeah.
And we would get into those negotiations. We would assure them of certain things, and then they would assure us of parameters around quality, timelines, and so on and so forth. Yeah, because at the end of the day, and I think it was, I can't remember which guest on your show who said, the client really, they care about where their items are processed. But for them is, are you consistent? Are you reliable?
Are you reliable?
Yeah. Are you able to
Can I
deliver
rely on you?
each and every time?
Each and every time.
Yes. Whether that means outsourcing, whether that means you have a place in Mlolongo where you do the actual cleaning, that's a secondary concern. But are you able to consistently deliver on the quality? Yeah, yeah.
Another follow-up question on that. Why Upper Hill? How did you arrive at the decision to start at Upper Hill?
Our preferred space would have been CBD. It was well beyond our means. Well beyond our means.
And I remember those days, you needed to pay goodwill.
Absolutely.
Before, like basically, even in that 5x5 would cost you some goodwill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also think there was something about the way the gentlemen at Upper Hill received us. And you know, by the time, and also on our platform, we do talk about that. When you're thinking about a location, we've opened and even closed some locations. I could talk about that. We've opened some locations that fell flat on their face.
In fact, that's
and there's a
good
whole
conversation.
checklist. There's a whole checklist of how does Anne predict this location is actually likely to succeed. So when we looked at Upper Hill, it offered us the business district. I've also told you about the Mtindwa angle. It offered us an opportunity to start down there.
Where you were.
Yeah, from where we were. Unlike other locations where you find an already existing business, they're asking for things like goodwill. You don't have proximity to ready clients.
Yeah.
And at the time, Upper Hill also really didn't have very many commercial places where you can get such a. In fact, we didn't have
Laundry.
any other
There
laundry.
wasn't.
There was none.
Actually, it was the only
There was
one
none.
at the time.
There was none. So it took off immediately. I remember the sales for the first month. It was, I think,
How did that
15,120.
15,120.
15,120. Yeah, 120.
How much was rent?
Rent there was 15K. Rent was 15,000. And of course, we had also
That's
put in.
not a bad start.
No,
That's a very
No.
good start.
not for laundry.
Yeah.
So you on the platform we talk about what are some of those elements that you really need to ensure they are in check before you commit your rent and your security deposit to a landlord. They are minimum. It's a long checklist.
Yeah. For you in terms of choosing the location. And I'm sure from your experience, especially having opened some that you've had to close because maybe you didn't get one of those checklists correct,
yes,
then you're definitely in a better position to sort of offer guidance.
Like location 2 was a spectacular failure.
Oh, I thought I did not envision failure at the end of that sentence. Where was it and what happened?
You know, we say when you're opening a location, everybody knows. You call Wairimu, you call Mwangi, you call all these guys.
You shout about it.
You market it. When you're closing, it's you and you alone, and you are conscious.
Very quiet.
Yes, you're very quiet. And you pack away your stuff, put it away somewhere. So it was in South Sea, to your question. It was tucked away somewhere in Mugoya. It was not primarily the location that I think contributed to it not performing. It was a couple of elements. So for one, it was expensively priced. And when I say expensive, I think it's good for perhaps your listeners to appreciate. It's not the monetary value. It's expensive vis-a-vis whatever traffic you're drawing in. Meaning there are locations where we've paid there are locations where we've paid more by way of rental, but they do justify.
They have higher traffic.
Absolutely. So that one was expensively priced relative to the setting, relative to where it was. It was also obscured. It didn't enjoy the kind of visibility perhaps you might like as a laundry business owner. Then also in laundry, we say when you're setting up your laundry location, you want somewhere where your target audience can fulfill more than one retail errand at a go.
At a go.
At a go. So you don't want a standalone unit. You want somewhere somebody can come, do their M-Pesa, do their barber shop, their photo studio, their butchery. Maybe there's a supermarket. All those play into the economics.
When I look at the upper hill, I'll drop it off when I'm coming for lunch.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
coming for lunch,
really
you have
convenient.
your girls' chama there. Something going on, So there are those elements and others that we say it's important. You look at what does this mean. There's security. Security plays into how early can I open. Can I open at 7 o'clock? Can I stay on late until 8 p.m.?
Yeah.
And staying on late means it's more convenient for your client, but it's also secure for your employee, for your staff, to be able to close at that hour and still make it home without any issues. Yeah. So those and other reasons. That's why we felt South Sea, and we pushed it. We pushed it 18 months. Like escalating commitment.
Yeah.
Like a relationship. He will change. He will never change. Even when you know the likelihood of this situation changing.
Escalating commitments. I love
that
statement.
That's what the psychologists call it. Yeah, it's irrational escalation of commitment. Yeah.
I feel like maybe 6 months in, you know whether it's gonna work out or it's not gonna work out. Sometimes you're just delaying the inevitable.
Absolutely. I would say even the second month in, you already know.
You already know. Yeah, you already know if this is gonna be a hit or not.
Yeah, because like the third one, now location 3, by which time we are still outsourcing. You're still outsourcing. We're still outsourcing. So equipment can wait. That's what I tell friends.
Yeah.
Yes. Let it not be like something that blinds you and tells you I have to get into this with equipment. No. So location 3 was the exact opposite. By month 3,
it had picked up.
Completely.
Self-sufficient.
Completely. You're able to take care of your attendant. You're able to even now start thinking about what would equipment look like in this context. You're building up cash flow and saying, I think now I can actually have a respectable conversation with my bank.
Yes.
Which when you are initially doing pickups,
was not the case at the Maruti level.
No.
Yeah, they'll not give you any money. No. You're too risky.
Yeah, too risky. Too risky. Yeah. But now by location 3, you're thinking, I think I can think about equipment, and when I do, it will need to take care of these 3 locations plus my projection.
I see.
Yeah.
So I love the conversation so far, and I am looking at the Maruti. So the progress is, I feel like we are picking lessons, and I hope the people who are watching are also picking lessons as we go. We've looked at the Maruti and the challenges that could have stopped you that did not. We've looked at setting up branch 1. In fact, there are many. You offer courses, and I actually attended one of your workshop, which was last year in Feb. Are we going to have one this
Absolutely.
Feb?
Next month on the 8th, I think it is.
8th of February.
Of February, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So I attended that workshop, and I can vouch for it. I can tell you Sam has 21 years of experience in the laundry business. So anything laundry, he's your guy. And if you're looking to set up this business, then he's the person to talk to. You also offer courses, virtual courses. Others are more in-depth. I think you can, there's allmylaundry.com, I believe is your website. But if, I hope this will be okay to share, if you were to give like insights for somebody who's looking to set up a branch? What is of your entire checklist, which I'm sure it's in all of your courses, and if you want the entire checklist, then you need to reach out to Sam. But what is like the top one you need to cover?
In setting up a location. Setting up a location. Okay. I'll speak to 2, maybe 3 things. So we have 2 platforms. We have the laundry business, which is allmylaundry.com. And then we have the learning platform, which is laundrybusinesslearning.com.
Oh,
all right?
okay.
So there are 2 separate divisions of the business. So allmylaundry.com and laundrybusinesslearning.com. And secondly, when you're picking out a location, you want, allow me to speak to Nairobi, to the context in Nairobi.
Sure.
Because we've opened locations in Nairobi, Kiambu, and Kajiado in Ngong Town. So I can speak to some experience in those places. You want to ask yourself a couple of questions. Am I in this thing short, medium, long term? That guides how you look at that lease. A lot of the landlords will come to you with a lease.
Yes.
So even though we say just sign, we've seen situations where friends get into a lease that is not very accommodating. In fact, some are extremely oppressive.
Yes.
Meaning either at the end of the lease you're not able to roll it over or to continue.
Or exit when you need to.
Or exit when you need to. So you want to ask yourself, what does this document I'm signing mean long term? Number 2, when you're thinking location, is it pure collection? Do you intend to have any cleaning going on there? Now, our model is not, you will not find our equipment at the branch. It is purely what we call hub and spoke.
Hub and spoke.
Hub and spoke. And I mean, you're in finance, you appreciate these things. So it's a setting where you have one centralized cleaning facility.
Which is what we're calling the hub.
Which is the hub. Then it's all servicing
the spokes are
this
the branches.
distributed, exactly. A model, I think, largely borrowed from the airline industry. For example, if you're flying Emirates to China, you first move from Nairobi to Dubai. So there's a reason they always first default to the hub. So that's the model we've borrowed. And what that allows you to do, Anne, is to mitigate issues of cost, promote efficiency, standardize quality, and allow also your communication to be seamless. All right? Of course, it has its cons. It is not entirely pros.
Yeah.
Because if you have a central cleaning facility, if it sneezes, 10 locations sneeze.
Yes.
They all catch a cold.
They all catch a cold.
No.
Yes.
So you also have to be alive to such exposure and provide for the appropriate mitigation. The other thing also, when you're picking out location, I already spoke to the adjacent setting. What does it look like? We have worked with business districts like Upper Hill. We have worked with residential like Thendegwa and similar environments. And all those bring different dynamics. So for the laundry space, the person who comes to Upper Hill will more likely lean towards their suits, their formal wear, etc. And half the time they'll have their laundry in the car. For Thendegwa, it will be more home-oriented. It's actually a bigger it's a bigger basket of laundry.
Yes.
Meaning now there you have more proximity to things like your curtains, your households, your duvets, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Then there are the finer details we talk about on the course. Things to do like, are you on the ground floor? Are you on the first floor? All those things have repercussions in terms of convenience. I could tell you stories about how we had set up inside, I don't want to mention the brand name, but it's a huge supermarket. It's a huge local supermarket. And we had set up collection points inside the supermarket.
Inside the supermarket.
Like right there where you have your M-Pesa, your liquor store. So we have...
Sounds like it would work, but...
in theory.
In theory.
You're on the money like this.
I mean, in theory, I'm going in to shop, I can just put my laundry, drop it off.
Visibility.
Same cart, I'm going to use the same cart.
There you go. You can even integrate systems with the supermarket, so as they check out.
Only go me overthink. Maka systems. How did it go?
It went.
Tell us.
See, it went. It went.
That's
The market tells you, sit down.
Sit down.
Sit down.
This one you've over.
Sit down.
Akili ni mingi sana.
Sit down.
Ouch. So there's also a possibility that you might fail at your first attempt.
You will fail at many attempts.
At many attempts.
You will fail at many attempps. That was bloody. Those settings inside the supermarket were expensive.
The rent.
They're very expensive because they're charging you. They can see the footfall they have, the rental. They are thinking this guy he can afford it. He can afford it. So they'll quote 100K a month, 120 a month. Yeah, then you put down 3 months deposit, 3 months, you're paying quarterly rent. Then customers to come and tell you, me, my duvet in a trolley, dirty, maybe not.
That is so interesting because when you're in a boardroom, you think, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So there are many chances. There are many things you're going to try out and they will fail. And I feel like getting comfortable with failure is a good place to start.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right? Managing your expectations, but also failing and learning from it. What would you say is has been your toughest challenge to overcome? Something that you failed at that was really, really tough for you to overcome. And overcoming here might not be financially, it could be mentally.
That's a long list. And it's a fantastic question. I think first, understanding your circle of influence. Because what worked in corporate did not necessarily translate into what was working on this other side. And by circle of influence, I mean I encountered people in entrepreneurship who I previously just perhaps interacted with at face value. A good example would be a gentleman who used to be my landlord. And I offer credit to him, he's passed on, but I offer credit to him at every opportunity because he opened my mind completely in terms of looking at business. And those early days, some of the conversations would have with him, he was actually my client number 1. He was my landlord where I was living, but he was also my client number 1. I'll tell you how that transaction came about. So he provided sort of like a beacon towards how you need to look at this business. And also having the mind to say, the circle I kept when I was in my earlier setting may not apply here.
Like in your
even social setting.
Employment days?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, because you need people who reinforce what you're doing. You want people who you look up to. You want people who have overcome bigger challenges than what you're looking at. Yeah. And they have done it with very minimal resource. And I cannot overemphasize the need to, even if you find 1 person or 2 people who have overcome adversity. In fact, when I hear there are 2 people making a presentation, one has overcome this, I look at the one who has overcome the most significant, the one who has come from 0.
Yeah.
Because therein lies the gems. You'll pick up creativity, you'll pick up efficiency, you'll pick up how to generate decent return on investment for...
Basically mentorship.
Absolutely.
Basically mentorship.
Absolutely. And in my first interaction with this gentleman I'm telling you about, I had actually gone to pay rent where I lived. And we had not yet started the laundry business, but we were getting there. We were not there, we were getting there. And
this is before the Maruti?
Yes, this is before. So he tells me, hey, so what's going on? Are you still there? He knew where I worked. So he asked me, are you still there? And I told him, no. You know, entrepreneurs, we are told we speak as if something is already happening. We speak futuristically.
Futuristically. You say no.
So I said, no, I left.
What are you doing? Had you? You were struggling with the...
Yeah, I'll tell you the story. So he asked me, you left? I don't know. I'm not there anymore. What are you doing? I said, we got into this project. It's laundry, it's dry cleaning and laundry. However, it's not the way you understand it. Confidence. I had your guest Rakeri here talking about confidence.
Yes.
Let me tell you, confidence is everything.
Kujiamini.
He told me, hey, what do you mean different? I told him, now, instead of now you leaving your office, your busy stuff to go do we come to you. Whether it's at home, at the office, we come to you, we pick, then you, how much do you charge? I told him, we charge this. Those figures I'm just pulling from my mind.
Yes.
Before I could even finish that story, and the guy reaches under his table. And because he was a guy also, he had my projects of construction, he had a jacket and a trouser he used to wear to his construction sites. Very dirty, very dusty. Instead of telling me stories, why don't you go and
help me clean this?
Go and sort that one out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then you bring it back.
Instead of telling me, let me see it. I stepped out onto the street, up for CBD, with his suit. You have no machine?
Nothing.
Zero. I looked around, I got into the first laundry there. Hey, how much a suit? How much a suit? How much a suit? I
Was
ended
it
up.
more than what you had charged, or?
It was roughly. I think I was going to make like 30 shillings or 50 shillings. Yes. Before packaging.
Before packaging.
Before packaging. So I took it to a gentleman there. He cleaned it. Following day, I pick it up. It was a green suit. I dropped down. I went down Pale Koja. There's a guy there who used to sell polythene bags. Picked up a polythene bag, wrapped it nicely. Because now I couldn't take it in the brand of the service provider. The service provider had branded bags.
Yes.
So I went.
Got yourself your,
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I took the delivery, he had another suit ready. Hata hii enda nayo. So on our system, you'll see his client number 001.
001.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
But
And his attachment to the business remained and sustained for the remaining part of his life. He was like our top client for about 15, 18 years. After that. Like he would come to the branch, and if there is a gap, he would call. Something is not right.
Something is not right, yeah.
So it doesn't matter the obstacles that stand in your way. I've heard you on this show sometimes say the people who come and support you, they are total strangers. I heard you say something?
It's like you're reading my mind. In fact, that was my follow-up.
This guy, we had no relationship.
None.
Zero.
Strangers, total strangers.
Zero.
Yeah.
It even got to a point, Anne, where he would come. He knows his laundry is like 5-10K a month. He writes a check of 50K. He says, each time I come, give me an updated statement.
Wow. That's a good client. Very, very good client. In fact, you read my mind, because my next question would have been, many people who are starting, they depend on their current circles to sort of support their businesses. That's your friends and your family, mostly, or colleagues, now former colleagues, who are looking down upon you that you are now cleaning clothes. And they don't trust your abilities, or for whatever reason, they don't support you. But how was it for you? How was it?
Do you mean specifically in terms of the growth?
Yeah.
Or?
Like at the beginning, how did friends, family, how did those relationships translate into business? Was it the way I've experienced it? I mean, I've gotten way more support from strangers.
I see. Our first database, like myself, my co-founder, we drew up a list, your friends. So all these guys you've been catching pints with, you've been going, long list. And then you reach out to them. That time, tech was not where it is today.
Yeah.
So you reach out to them maybe on text or something like that. You say, this is it, we are picking, we are delivering. The response, very lackluster, very lukewarm. I would actually say where we got the most traction, relatives, yes. Like I know our firstborn sister, at the time she worked in an insurance setting, and I really leaned on the model they used. Because the insurance approach to selling is very defined, it's very structured. And I think those elements exist across, it doesn't matter the product or the service that you use. Those elements, you see them playing into it. So I leaned on what she was learning, where she was working, and what seemed to work for them. And as I told you also, a lot of our early days were referral, meaning it was over the phone.
Yes.
So if, for example, just now to illustrate at a granular level, if we called a colleague, say of a former colleague or a friend, or maybe my sister's colleague, and she told us, come and pick, it's okay, come and pick the laundry, we would look at the basket that she has sent. And we were very intentional in saying, we are already gotten one leg in through either Anne or my cousin or my sister. But it's incumbent on us to take it beyond.
Yes.
So if you introduce us to your colleague called Joyce or Wahoo, so we'll make sure we extract some kind of referrals from Wahoo.
Some value from
Yes,
her as
yes.
well.
Because your friends and family will not sustain. If anything, those third-party strangers are the ones who provide you like completely objective feedback. They'll tell you this thing is not making sense to me.
Yes.
This thing is not
service.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys delayed it. If you delay the delivery again, we are done.
We're done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember early days, since it was that referral model, you ask for referrals from all your clients, and because you don't have a very large database, you have maybe 50 clients. So you can actually go around them in telephone calls in 2 mornings. You exhaust them.
Yes.
Then you decide maybe on Friday you'll start again.
Yes.
They get upset.
They get upset.
Well,
Why
now,
are you calling me twice?
I tell you, Wanyoike, I'm the one who wears those clothes.
You're gonna have to wait.
So when they need laundry,
I'll let you know.
I'm the one who knows.
Yes.
So,
But you're so desperate for a sale, man. Oh, starting a business is hard. Now, last question when it comes to what is stopping you. I think we've covered self-doubt, we've covered resources, we've covered mindset. I want to circle back to resources, and I think there is maybe a question I didn't ask. You've mentioned many times that when you're thinking about setting up a laundry business, equipment should not be first on your list. Tell us why.
equipment is important, but it should not be the deciding factor as to whether you will kick off operations or not. For one, laundry is very broad. Laundry is super, super broad. So, and in one of the early courses we talk about on our platform is modeling. How do you model your laundry business? And by modeling, we mean, are you going after individual walk-ins, the retail? Are you going institutional, your serviced apartments and your Airbnbs and your restaurants and so on? Or are you one of those friends who are very connected, like in public offices, county governments, where you can play the whole tender game? And until you establish, this is actually the segment within the market where I enjoy the most competitive advantage, you do not want first to bring in or to commit to significant equipment. But once you've established, actually this is where I think I can sustain momentum, this is where I think I'm really well differentiated, then it makes sense to say, let me go back and put 1 million shillings or 5 million shillings in equipment. And I can't tell you the number of friends we have seen who come, very grand ideas, they ship in equipment or they buy from local dealers, only to realize 1 year, 2 years in, I should have probably gone for this kind of equipment. So we advocate, test the market.
Test the market first.
Test and test and test, yes. If there's anyone who will provide proof of concept, social proof, it's your client.
It's your client.
Yes. So allow them the opportunity. Yes.
And then invest after.
Then invest. Then invest. The other reason we find equipment really not to be front and center. In our experience, we've seen equipment vendors like really pushing the entrepreneur to pick up certain brands and this brand and the other brand. And granted, if I'm an equipment vendor, what am I going to do? I'll do everything in my power to get you to start with the equipment. Even when, like you alluded, the more important or the priority is to bring the customer through the door. First. And given that we've walked that path part of our coaching platform and part of how we think about giving back to the industry is allowing entrepreneurs to also have the opportunity to test out their version of their own business. So you'll find 15, maybe 20% of our current business is from people who, we call them dealers.
Yeah.
People who, they have no sense of a factory or a workshop. They have nothing that looks like a factory.
Yeah.
They just have 1 or 2 collection shops. And they decide, these are the people who are going to take care of my back end. We have a bunch of those. And I could give you case studies for days. And like there's a lady, she continues to amaze us. She started off on this Kikuyu, Keno.
No way.
Yes. Huge brand. Huge brand.
I
Started
love
out
it.
purely outsourcing.
Yeah.
And she's played at that level of the market all the way down Gekambura as you go down. And it's people like those and many others who have started with no equipment, no major infrastructure investment, that help us appreciate that this is not just a dream. It's not just something that is intangible. So it is possible. It is actually very possible.
I concur. It's actually easier to start with a customer. You're most likely to succeed if you start with finding the customer and serving them first, than if you try and set up the whole back end before getting your customer.
Absolutely.
Because you run out of money, out of capital before you even make your first sale, which is disastrous. Last question. I know I had said this is the last question, but I think it's important. I know you offer workshops, courses, mentorship. I'm just keen to find out of the few clients you've had, what was the most interesting, I don't want to call it an excuse, but sort of sometimes your mind creates this thing to be a challenge when it is not. Have you met one of your students who comes in with this is what is stopping them, this is why they have not started, and you found it so interesting? In fact, when you look at it, it seemed like it was just in their head, like it did not exist. Like, I don't know if you have an interesting experience with an existing student of yours.
At different levels. So there are participants, I like calling them participants. There are participants who come, either they are at the starting point, like they've not yet set up anything, they just have the idea, they've done some research, visited a few laundries and so on, but they've not yet engaged. There's also another category, they've already started, but they've not yet gone all out. They've not yet like decided this is the thing. A big part
What
of
do you mean they've started, but
they've started
not decided
we had somebody come on the other day, and usually typically this will be colleagues who have a fallback plan. So either they incorporate, they really want to get out.
Oh, I see. It's a side thing.
It's a side thing.
Like, you know,
so they have not yet fully committed to this process.
they've not fully committed.
But they are seeing examples, they are seeing opportunities for coaching, but they've not yet committed. So the first category, a lot of participants will come and say, I'm struggling with capital. And I ask them, okay, if you had the capital today, like we told you this platform is going to offer you the capital, what would be your next challenge? Then there's some awkward silence.
They imagine they have a challenge with capital and it stopped there.
So you've not thought HR, you've not thought who you're going to hire, you've not thought how you're going to select a location, you've not thought about the systems you're going
outsourcing the laundry
outsourcing.
Service.
You've been completely consumed by a
the
word
capital.
called capital.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
So when we now engage them, we ask them, hey, let's unpack what capital looks like to you. Like if you had 1 million shillings, how would you appropriate it? And now that's where the real value of the coaching comes through. Because you appreciate when we speak from a point where we don't have the information or we don't have practical experience, then priorities are all over the place.
Yes.
But when we now start coaching and slowly guiding you towards having customer acquisition conversations, a light bulb,
The conversation
a light,
changes.
yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And now you hear somebody saying, oh, in fact, I was thinking about how I can leverage social media, how I can create short stories or short reels. Then everything changes.
Yes.
And it moves now from being a dream to the possible. All right? So I would
They
say,
stop seeing the obstacles, they start seeing
exactly,
what the
exactly,
possibilities could
exactly.
be.
In fact,
Yeah.
there's a beautiful book called The Obstacle is the Way. I would highly
You
recommend.
sent it to me.
Yes,
I love it.
I'd recommend it to your
listened
audience. It really
to
speaks
some
about how
chapters.
do you
Yeah.
flip, how
Yeah.
do you flip something that just looks completely
Unattainable.
insurmountable? Yes. How do you take that and flip it and just actually make it the opportunity? Yeah. And you know what they say? If it was easy, we would all be.
We'd all be doing it.
We'd all be doing it.
Yeah. And this other section?
Now, this other section, I find a big part of the obstacle, like we highlighted earlier, is within them, is within their current setting.
They are
For
the obstacle.
for me, it's still work in progress, how to crack this category of friends, because I can see they are shackled by their current situation. Of course, a lot of them, there are a few of them who are younger, Gen Z, younger, but a lot of them are somewhere between 30 to 45.
45.
Meaning there's a good chance they have young families.
Young families.
They're thinking, if I step
More
out,
responsibilities.
and maybe my partner or my spouse is not plugging in, what happens?
What happens?
They are also dealing with the situation, because we really unpack the motivation. Why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this?
There is that segment of participants who come and they're in that chasm, if I can call it. They're in that place where they are trying to transition, and they're also trying to make critical life decisions. There are life events going on. So you also don't want to be the coach or the mentor or the support system that offers false hope. You have to be realistic with them. You have to completely lay it out for them. There'll be tough times. Your lifestyle will be impacted.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be the transition into business. You've even seen transitions where somebody was laid off.
Yeah.
And immediately they were impacted. Maybe they had to change their schools for the kids' schools, and so on and so forth. So usually we try to paint and push the focus towards the clientele. How do you bring the clientele through the door? And the good thing about this industry is it is something you can even test out when you're still in your 8 to 5. When you're still employed. Another thing we've seen, especially within the corporate setting, there is this perception, and that I want to offer the best service.
The best product.
The best. Like, I'll be so differentiated. I'll be super differentiated. I'll go and pick, like a common one. A common one is I'll go and pick up talent, my customer service, from that hospitality institution.
Yes. I'll take nothing less.
I will pay, I'll pay 30K, I'll pay 40K a month. Month 3.
You know when you're
You hear,
you see these awards.
Sam, do you know someone who is looking for a...
You see these awards. best employer in the country. You see, those are the organizations they are working for.
Employee of the month.
They want to, what they've learned in corporate, to translate to business. But you and I know, and especially because we've been both in finance, I feel like my experience in corporate is only making sense maybe now. At the beginning, it derailed me completely. I needed to unlearn and relearn new ways of doing things, because being the best employer in whatever industry, surely when you're beginning, you're not gonna be the best employer.
I would argue that element alone, Anne, is what has made your show, your podcast, your channel extremely popular, because you do not live in the ideal. Your show does not lay out idealistic ecosystems. No. You actually bring in everyday men and women who know what it means for an employee to desert you on Friday, like with zero notice, for someone to show up through the door, to show up at the door, and day number 4, they're already stealing from you. I've seen those in your... Those
employee theft.
Employee theft. Because
coming to work drunk.
because those are the things that happen out here.
Yeah.
And especially before your business now grows to become something that is supported by systems. Yes, there'll be the initial stage. Your child has to crawl, walk, run, and eventually fly.
So basically what you're saying, the challenge you see with this section of participants is mostly they're not able to fully commit, and some of them when they they seem to have fully committed, but their ideals are not nowhere near what the reality
Absolutely.
is of starting and running that business.
Absolutely. And the few who have seen successfully transition, they still, I see them taking a step back. Let me take a step back. Let me understand this thing for what it truly is. What it truly is,
Yeah.
yes. And if it's this small, I will treat it as that
Yeah.
it's small. If it is something that has a lot of potential, I will adjust accordingly. But it is not me bringing all this library of what I believe to be true and trying to impose it on this small baby. Yeah, it's a small baby.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been an amazing conversation. If you are stuck, and I think we began by saying what is stopping you, or asking you guys what is stopping you. Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it skill? Is it limited resources? What exactly is stopping you? And if you have an idea that maybe you want to pursue laundry as a business or cleaning, I believe they are sort of all in the same space. Sam is the best mentor you can have in that industry. You can reach him on allmylaundry.com and also learning.
Laundrybusinesslearning.com.
Laundrybusinesslearning.com, and he has a workshop that is physical. I don't know if it's to be like one-on-one as well.
It is one-on-one. It is on the 8th of February. I think the poster will go out very shortly. I suspect it might be at the Radisson Blu. Very fairly priced, but it's a place where you meet community, you bond, you learn the trends, all that good stuff that we have discussed here. You get to interact with all these people. So, and just as a rider for you, Anne, just for you, I will invite you to pick out 5 people from your audience. I'm happy to offer. Yeah, I'm happy to offer some coaching, maybe 1 hour each. See how it goes. For people who are genuinely interested in getting into the
laundry business. I have a couple of requests, so I'll definitely do a video after this. And if you watch this, just drop me a DM, and I'll have some spare an hour with you. Sit with him, because I can't tell you how much it takes to move from a vehicle, a Maruti in this case, to a 5x5, to a 14-branch laundry company, and now to a 10-branch that is also offering outsourcing, that you can also outsource laundry services that can really help you start your laundry business. In our next episode, we are still going to have him on the show, and this time we'll talk about sales and marketing. So I imagine you have gotten enough inspiration from this video for you to start, right? And I think throughout the video, you've mentioned that sales is key. Getting your customers and retaining them is key. So how do you go about it? And I believe like after these 2 episodes, you'll be well on your way. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming to our show. I don't know if you have any last words.
No, thank you, Anne. Mine is to first congratulate you on this journey. I think you have built a listenership and a following that is truly exceptional. And I can only encourage you to keep at it. There aren't many platforms that offer this kind of nuggets. I've listened to some of your past visitors, and I think it's a ton of gold in terms of just appreciating what does starting a business in a place called Kenya look like. So I encourage you to keep at it. And then for your audience, you're only limited by your own mind. That's the feedback we get a lot from our coaching platform. Yeah. People go through it and they say, I feel like I'm now just limited by my own mind.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the obstacle is the way.
Thank you. That's a book, by the way, recommended by Sam. I'll leave a link if you use Audible to listen to some of your books. And thank you so much for spending a whole hour with us. I hope this has been helpful. And I really, truly hope that this has given you just a little bit more courage to fail forward and achieve your dreams. We'll see you on the next one.